I like starting it with a little friction. It's good. Hello. Welcome to Tuesday Live Magic Sessions with me, Sarah Jelly, your host, aka Vocal Magic Coach. We are here to talk about the magic of singing, the practice of singing, what you're struggling with. I'm here to answer any questions you have. I usually kind of riff on stuff that's been coming up in my lessons this week because it feels organic and natural. But feel free if you've been working on something and if you are struggling with something within your vocal growth, ask me a question and I'm here to help you with that. And it can guide our conversation a little bit. So today is the first live session of the new year. And I have been talking to a couple of my students about trust and how to go about trusting yourself, because really that's the core of singing for me. That's the magic of singing. And I know it's really hard to just hear that as a beginning singer and just be like, oh, well, if that's the answer, well, I'm screwed. Like, I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth when I open it. How can you get from where I am to the point of just trusting your voice? And I totally get that. And I'm not saying you have to just turn on a switch and be able to trust yourself and have this beautiful voice come out, because there's a lot of steps before that. And of course, it takes time and training, and both mental training and physical training. And there's a lot of experiments that have to come before that. I like to talk about singing as a scientific experiment because so many people put so much pressure on it as like this creative thing that you have to be just good at automatically when you start singing. And so many people get discouraged because when they try and sing a song, it doesn't sound like the original artist. But that's because you probably have not had the same training that they have on both sides, right? And if they've been doing it for a long time, or if they were brought up with musical parents, or if they had just had different teachers from you, it all makes a difference. Because my opinion, and I don't know how other voice teachers feel about this, my opinion is that like singing talent is not just born in somebody. It takes time, but also a lot of the ability to trust ourselves comes from how we've been brought up and how we've been taught to think about singing on a bigger picture, mostly in regards to mental health and the nervous system and the body. So when I started singing more seriously, I realized that I kept coming up against all these blocks. Like I had a teacher who was a classical teacher when I very first started getting super serious about singing. And she would give me all these body mechanic things to do. And I didn't realize what she was doing until way later. But she was helping me hack my body because I had all these beliefs about singing that I didn't realize were affecting how I sing. And I had 2 conversations with my students today about this particular thing. Like, most people have pretty good ears. You can pick out a note out of thin air. Like if I played a note on the piano, most people can sing it. Even if you can't, that's another story. Like we can train you to get there. But there's this thing that we hear a note and we sing it. It's like, I call it like the ear to mouth pipeline, right? And when you have the ear to mouth pipeline and you hear a note and you sing it, but maybe it's a little flat or sharp, there's something that got in the way, right? There's some kind of block within the ear to the mouth pipeline, right? There's not an easy way to just make that note happen because you have all these beliefs about, I have to try really hard to make that note happen. I have to take bigger breaths in order to get to the end of this phrase. I just don't have the stamina that I think I need to get to the end of this phrase. And so I think it's really important to notice those patterns when they come up. We got to know what's blocking us in order to get past to the other side, right? the case with any new skill, anything. If you're trying to get somewhere, if there's a blockage in the road, you got to figure out how to get around it, and you have to know what the blockage is in order to get to the other side of that. So when we're talking about body hacking, we're talking about noticing, first and foremost, first step beyond anything else, noticing what's coming up for you. So some people, their instinct is a fight response, right? Their nervous system starts to come in and is like, oh, I got to work real hard to make this note happen. I know this is a hard passage. I'm going to fight like hell to make it happen, right? And so your body tenses up like you're about to be in a fight with somebody, because that's what you're seeing this hard passage as. Your nervous system is seeing it as an affront, as an attack to you. And you have to prepare for it so as not to fail and be the loser, which in your biological case, your body is taking that as like you're going to be humiliated and you're going to be kicked out of the group and left to fend on your own, which equals death, right? So your body's just trying to help you survive at the end of the day, which you can't blame it for doing, right? It's very good at what it does. That's what your brain does. It keeps you logically, sometimes illogically, in a place of safety. So whether it's an actual threat of actual danger, or if it's just perceived actual threat, aka stepping onto a stage or singing in front of a person or trying a hard passage, your body acts the same way. So this is why I talk about body hacking. Like what my classical teacher was doing was she was having me push myself into a wall so that my body was holding on to something so that it felt safer. It was doing something, but in a place that didn't directly affect my vocal folds and didn't mess with my pitch or the mechanism of the voice. And so she would have me do a push-up as I went up into a high note. And I was like, I could magically sing that high note with no strain and have it be no problem. Whereas a minute before I was like struggling with it. And so I realized from all of those exercises that she took me through, another one was she had me like sing on all fours. And it really helps just change your mindset, because we feel like we don't have to work so hard to get something out of us when we're face down and gravity's doing that work. And also it's helpful to get the abs involved in a different way. And also you get that same thing, you're pushing to the ground. So there's a lot of ways to remind your body and to show your body that it can do these hard things without all the manipulation that it feels like it needs, right? So if you were about to cross a street in a red light and there was a car coming, your body would tense up and hopefully run back out of the way. That's what the brain is there for. That's what your nervous system is there for, to be in those situations. But when you're just practicing and you're about to go hit a high note and your past brain tells you, you've never hit that note before. Who do you think you are? You got to try so hard. You're going to have to sing your butt off and get everything in your body to make this note happen, right? And so your whole body tenses up. Your nervous system goes, this is a problem. I got to take care of it with the only solution I know how. Tensing. And so then your muscles tense up, your jaw tenses up, your tongue tenses up, whatever way your body's natural tension response is, that's what it will do for you. And so when you go to sing the note, either nothing comes out or the note comes out strained or its pitch is off, but it's not coming out in the way that you want it to, which is open and free and relaxed, which is how your voice does its best work, is not bothered by anything else in your body. So the other thing I wanted to mention is not everybody has that same response. Not everybody has the fight response. That's just my default. My default is the fight response is to muscle things into existence. But some people, their trauma response, that has been ingrained in them, is to freeze and shut down in place of danger, in spaces of danger. So if they were crossing the street and a car was coming towards them if you have this freeze response, your response might be just to stand there and scream or not even do anything. So it's really important to know what your nervous system's default is in order to know how to kind of redirect that response. So your body's going to want to do something in places of fear and places of, perceived attacks on your person. And so if your trauma response is freeze, totally understandable if your body ends up not taking a full enough breath, and so you don't have the air to make that note happen. Or maybe you tense up so much that you can't even get any sound out, because your body's like, no, we're not doing this right now. We're curling up into a little ball because that's how I've been safe in the past. So hopefully this helps to kind of see your body's reactions in a different light, and your wrong notes or songs that are too hard for you, we're switching that and we're taking that out of the context that we've always been taught to put it in. You're not a worse singer. You're not somebody who will never be able to sing. That's just not a thing, in my opinion. I believe that everybody can learn to sing because of this stuff. If we hack the body, if we hack the mind, you can do so much with your voice that you didn't realize you could before, not because of talent, but because you're finally releasing something in your brain that's telling you have to try so hard when you really didn't in the first place. So you're getting out of your own pathways, you're getting out of your own way. Hey, Lisa, when you are trying to do something a little out of your comfort zone, right? That's when your nervous system takes the biggest hit. Is like, wait a second, we're in danger here. And you have to be the one that is like, no, I am safe. We're not doing this today. We're going in a different direction. Oh, hey, Tina, how you doing? I'm talking about trust in yourself, which is, I think, number one thing as a singer. I think it's really all about the ear to the mouth pipeline and not putting anything in our way of that. And so I think it's really important to notice, we've talked about this before, what your natural default is to being attacked biologically, right? So some people have a fight response, some people have a freeze response. So it's really important to notice what's the first thing that happens when you feel like you're in danger. And you may not rationally feel like you're in danger, but your body feels it, and you can feel yourself kind of tighten up. And some of us, you see a hard passage coming. Maybe it's historically been the passage that like messes you up every time, and you've not been able to hit that high note ever. And so, of course, that gives your gremlin free rein to come in and mess with you. Like, oh, who do you think you are? You've never sang that note before. And so then that triggers your body's nervous system response in fight or freeze or flight mode. And then you end up putting that in between the ear and what comes out of your mouth. So it's not a pure sound anymore. We're either tightening up or loosening or not putting enough fuel, or just not believing in ourselves so much that we don't even commit fully. And there's so many different layers to this, of course. And this is what I do in sessions with people that are taking classes with me, is like, we get to the root of this shit because it's really important. Like, it's not just that you're not talented, like you're absolutely talented. Maybe you haven't had the training yet, and that's okay. And that stuff takes time. But while you're doing that training, while you're doing the work to get to Ariana Grande status or wherever you want to get to, it's really important that you know yourself and you know your nervous system and you know your biology and you know your gremlin. What's the pattern that's going to come up for you? And that's how we get it out of the way. Like, you have to know what's in front of you, what's blocking you, in order to get out of the way of it and sing to what you know is on the other side. Whether that's like this singer self that you are in the shower, but in front of other people, it doesn't come out. Okay, so let's get into that. Like, what's the block that your body is putting up when you're singing in front of other people? What's the first thought that comes into mind? What's your gremlin say? What's your gremlin's name? Why do they come in? And then if we know that, we shine a light on them. And the gremlin can be put in the corner, and we can soothe and regulate our nervous system. And then we can step on stage in a much different state than we were in before. And without the block, in here that is blocking what you hear and what you can sing to what actually comes out. So when we know what the block is, we can much more easily take a different route or get rid of the block, albeit ever temporarily. So it's really good to just know yourself so much. And I always talk about this as a scientific experiment, because the more you know yourself and the more you rehearse and sing whatever song you're working on from that place, you're giving your body evidence every single time you sing that passage from a safe place, and you show yourself and your gremlin that you did it right and you didn't die. You opened up in a way you had never had before. You consistently 5 times, 10 times, 15 times did it without tensing up, and it sounded great. And it felt okay. It didn't hurt myself. And that's all the evidence that your body needs. You just have to keep feeding it evidence that you cannot tense, that you cannot over effort, and make that happen for yourself. It's pretty magic. And that's the vocal magic that I named my whole stuff after. Because it's not about me waving a magic wand. It's about you knowing yourself better than I could ever know you. I'm just asking you all the right questions so that you can get to know yourself in a very deep way, so that you can get past these roadblocks on the way to the singer that you know you already are. And that's all it takes. And if you're not there yet, then we train, right? It's science. We train the muscles. We train the mind to let go. We train your ear to the mouth. We train your brain to your body. And we train your actual muscles so that they can have a little more stamina. And then after 6 months, after a year, if you've been working on this and training, as well as working on what these blocks are, what your patterns are, being able to notice them in a split second and go another way, you're going to be freaking 10 times the singer you ever thought you could be. So that's my soapbox. I just love talking about this stuff so much, because I am 10 times the singer I ever thought I could be when I was in high school, playing my little guitar, writing my little songs, singing for my friends. They were like, yeah, it was great. You have a pretty voice. And I'm like, okay, yes, but I know I can be so much more than a pretty voice. I can be a powerful voice. I can sing whatever the hell I want to sing, because I know that I want that. And I just don't know how to get there. I don't know how to get from here to there. And that's what my first teacher did for me. And my second teacher, she took me through deeper layers. My first teacher was a classical teacher, but I don't think everybody needs a classical teacher to start. Some voice teachers will insist on doing classical stuff first, so you can get that technique in there. I don't think it's necessary or a prerequisite to everything else, but I think it's important to at least get a little bit of that technique in there somewhere, because classical singers have, I think, the most sustainable voices out of anyone when they're doing it right. And that technique combined with the mental work that I do in my studio is gold. It's just that they don't get that extra stuff in classical performance degrees that they're taking in universities as classical singers, opera singers. So I think what we're doing in my studio is whatever you want to sing, that's what we're going to sing. Sure, we can do an opera song here and there to get that technique down. But what I want for you at the end of the day is to have the ease and freedom, and most of all, trust in your voice, because of the technique, because of knowing your patterns, because of the training that we do over 6 months. And so then over that time, we get you to a place of like, okay, I know that I can do this because I've done it 100 times, and there's no fear anymore, right? Think of something else you've done 100 times, 200 times, 500 times. There's no fear anymore, right? Like, you can do it. You can drive a car because you've been driving since you were 16. Like, you might have a little bit of fear, but most of the time when you get into the car, most of us, I think, are just like, all right, I know how this is going to go. I know all the rules. I know I've done it. I know that I can steer and do all the things I need to do to make my car go. And then I do it. It's the same with your voice. You're learning that it doesn't have to be a scary thing by doing it over and over and over and over again. And that's where the trust comes from. Knowing yourself so well that there's no question that you can do it. I think that's a good place to end. What do you think? Thanks for joining if you joined. Thanks for joining if you're watching this later. I really appreciate you being here for these magic sessions. I usually just post them so you can watch all of them. I have a little series called Magic Sessions. These are all also up inside my Mighty Networks community, which you can get the app for. So it can be just on your phone. I'm changing it to a monthly membership soon. But let me know if you want in there, and if you want access to all my past workshops, all of these guys as well, and a great little community of singers doing this work too. Currently, I am really excited about my Vocal Magic program, which has up until now been a very deep dive mastermind level into singing from wherever you are to wherever you want to get to. So beginner, intermediate to intermediate, advanced-ish. If you're a professional singer, not quite the right space for you, but if you want just to get singing more, if you want to feel better about your voice, is the place for you. Currently, it's a 6-month big deal mastermind. This year, my goal is to make it a little more condensed, a little more accessible for people. So it's not going to be quite the same intimate cohort, which I think is really a great thing to do to level up yourself, maybe after this program. It's kind of like the high level is what I've been doing this past year. And so this version of Vocal Magic is going to be, we're not going to cover 100% of everything I teach like we do in the full version, but we're going to have a lot more live chats, and I'm going to have videos recorded for you every week, and they're going to drip out slowly to you. So it's kind of like a hybrid live group course kind of a thing. And that I'm pretty sure I'm going to be launching in March, end of February, early March. So keep in touch with me. Make sure to follow me if you're not already. Tell your friends who are singers to follow me if you vibe with what I do. I'm really excited to try and reach more people and get more people doing this work, because I think it's life-changing for singers, for people who have wanted to sing their entire lives and just never put stock in it because they thought they just were where they were and they couldn't grow. I am here to tell you that I know different. I have had so many students that thought that, and they are in a completely different place now than they were before. So let me know if that's something you're interested in. I also do private sessions. I only have a couple spots left in my private studio for this spring. So jump on that if you're interested. Just DM me about any of this stuff. But if you're just tiptoeing into my world, if you're on Instagram, in my bio, there's a little mini ebook that you can download. Hopefully it'll change some perspectives about how you think about singing. And then you'll get my updates about Vocal Magic and all the other things I do, and my weird metaphors and stories from there. So happy to answer any other questions you have about singing, and hopefully hear your voice someday and work with you. And I love you, and have a lovely rest of your Tuesday. And yeah, I'll see you soon.